Hey, today we have Morenike Olaushibiko joining us to talk about her foundation, what she's been up to, and many more. Hi, Morenike. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, good to see you all, and I guess this is going to be an interesting time.
I suppose when you write is the unexamined life worth living.
Oh boy! Oh, we're gonna go there.
We're there.
Okay. What is your question?
Is the unexamined life worth living? This was your last
Facebook post.
Okay, you ask in the world. I ask you.
Oh, I yesterday was an interesting day. I suppose I had this really long, intense conversation with a friend, and I have this habit of journaling every day and just thinking about life critically, thinking about philosophies that I espouse and ideologies, and I suppose it's a popular statement from Socrates, and I thought instead of saying it the way Socrates said it, I guess I just thought I would turn it on its head and ask it as a question. I don't think the unexamined life is worth living.
Okay, that's your answer.
Yeah, I don't think it is, but I wondered what other people thought about it.
Okay. It's not worth living. You're many things to many people. As in, I found myself exhausted just trying to catch up with your digital trail. How would you describe yourself?
I think that's very astute that you found yourself exhausted. I make jokes that I'm a polymath in training because I think it's considered to call myself a polymath because the people I see that are polymaths are just incredible, just super accomplished people. And so I think I've made peace with that I'm someone that doesn't really like to confine myself in one box, in one discipline.
So you're a pharmacist.
I don't do it well, so then I figure I would just pursue all the things that make me happy and learn everything I want to learn.
That's really good. I'm very. So you had a first class in pharmaceutical sciences studies in 2009. And you're also a big supporter of the arts.
Yes.
You know the parallel. Could you explain what pharmaceutical, what sciences has got maybe to do with the arts?
To the arts, I suppose a lot really. I think that the separation that occurs between scientists and artists are more in our minds than they actually are. There's a lot to the way you approach dialogue with a patient, for example, in your pharmacist.
Do you practice at all as a pharmacist?
Oh yeah.
Is that your day job?
I suppose that's what people would say. That is my day job.
Okay, because I know you own a Shoppers Drug Mart on Wingresky Drive.
That's correct.
Is that where you do your day job?
That's my day job.
Oh, okay. And during your spare time,
it's all a big mashup of things. Like it's really, really difficult to tease out a typical day in my life.
So right in the middle of the bubble is Morenike Olaushibiko. You have so many. You have so many. There's the foundation.
Yes.
Okay. You have UMCP, the international one.
MCP.
Like maybe I'm not EM. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't remember what that is. I didn't make a note of that.
I do have something I'm doing internationally.
Yeah, that's probably what I found.
So I'm trying to build social enterprises in southern African countries, starting with Botswana.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's probably
it's an extension.
What's the name of the website?
Kemet.
Okay, not Kemet.
Not Kemet, something else.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on with this, so I can see how this will happen. Well, I guess the main things that I find myself in now is pharmacy practice, store franchise ownership through Shoppers Drug Mart, and then building a social enterprise in Southern Africa, in Botswana first. And then I also am a preceptor. So I accept students from the university and international students also.
That's what you do as a clinical academic colleague.
As a clinical academic colleague.
Absolutely.
So sort of an adjunct faculty for the
University of Alberta.
Yeah.
All right, cool. You are, like I said, very busy. What do you do to relax? do you relax?
I am trying to learn more and more to set boundaries and do that. But as you see, I'm outside. I definitely love nature and love to be in spaces where I can appreciate that. So one of the main things I do to take a break is I have this lakeside resort place that I love going to in the summer, and recently I took up this habit of actually camping, which I know a lot of people think I am exactly.
If you're from Africa, you grew up without water in a shed. What do you need camping for?
Honestly, there's something really spiritual and grounding about being out there. I don't know how else to put it. There's something about being able to hear myself think, being able to wake up and hear the sound of birds and hear the sound of random animals and look up at suns. I love to stargaze. So watch the sunset, watch the sunrise. These things seem mundane and trivial, but it actually
but it feels to me like a pleasure
relaxing.
for rich accomplished
Oh,
polypaths
God.
like yourself, Veronica Laoshibikan. So I mean, social action through the arts.
Yes.
How did you even start that? Why?
You know, I think the best answer I've been able to give myself about this would be Fela.
Nicola
Nicola
was a big influence
a
in your life.
huge influence. And you know what? I am convinced that there are many people my age that grew up in Nigeria, and the entire reason for their activism, their worldview, their predisposition is Fela. And I want to do that study one day. I want to figure out how you actually figure out that contribution, because the first place I actually see arts for social change in my mind when I trace it back is Fela.
Through his music.
There is no one else that embodies that better, where you take music and your music is so problematic that they throw you in jail, they beat you up, they throw your mother off the second floor of a building. And this goes to the heart of what you're doing with your music. Your art is so powerful.
So powerful, it topples governments.
It topples governments. And it actually makes young people read books, learn about
I was
heroes.
also around in time of Fela, but he did. All I remember, and I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. He died. He was, from HIV because he had maybe about 40 or 400 women. He had all
a
these
lot of women, married a whole bunch of concubines.
And I wasn't really impressed with that lifestyle, and so I didn't see anything other than that. So it's interesting.
That is a paradox. It's a paradox to have the kind of womanist, feminist predisposition I have, and then to still
it is
a paradox. It is a contradiction. He's a very troublesome person when you think of gender rights and gender equality. He has a song that specifically opposes that, right? But his mother is the opposite, right? And that family is an interesting family.
That family, God bless them.
I think if I were to look back at what would be the seed of an inspiration, I think it starts with Fela. But then it grows into different things. I think also the function of where I was, my family. So my mom is a chemist, honors chemistry, who also happens to be an amazing seamstress. Starts multiple businesses. Then my dad's a physician who happens to be a writer and publishes magazines. And that household just engendered a lot of creativity, I think. The first person I also then end up aspiring to within the arts is Leonardo da Vinci. And this polymathy that he exhibits, where he's an inventor and he's a scientist, and he actually takes he takes carcasses apart to study anatomy. And so this is where I also first start to see that you don't have to be just this,
to be in a box. You can do more.
You can do a lot, and you can have fun with that.
And that's what you've done, and it's really impressive, and I celebrate you for it. You've done a lot. I'm sure your parents must be proud.
They are. My mom especially, she enjoys bragging. She definitely does her fair share of bragging.
Okay, so why HIV? Is that a problem in this country or somewhere like Nigeria?
So for me, it starts with
Why did you choose HIV to be the charity you wanted, the problem you wanted to attack?
No, if I'm being honest, the thought around HIV started when I was really young. Like, I want to place it at 8, maybe 7. I remember actually the first place I have this epiphany about me being part of the solution to the problem. I'm not sure I'm ever going to be able to put an exact finger on at 7 years or 8 years old, this is why I was thinking about HIV. I think once again, it's the family I was in. My dad is a little bit of an activist too. He has a little bit of that bent to him. Some people might say even more than I think. But the point where it becomes, I think, really forefront in my mind is I contract tuberculosis.
Okay.
And the place I have to get my treatment for tuberculosis happens to be a place where a lot of people living with HIV.
So this was in Nigeria.
This was in Nigeria.
All right.
And I guess because of where my...
Did you contract it as secondary school or you schooled here? How did you come in contact?
I believe that I contracted it actually while I was in England.
Oh, really?
Because what had happened was I had done a work experience where I was a caregiver. And in that work experience, I think this is where I contracted it because I thought I had all the appropriate shots and all the appropriate preventative measures and I'd taken the appropriate tests, but I suppose I missed one. So this is where I think that I contracted tuberculosis. And so then I get back home and this is where I then get diagnosed. And that's where I then get my treatment. But the 9 months of that treatment meant I went there every month. Actually, what was supposed to happen is you're supposed to go there for daily oral therapy, but they spared me that because I suppose of my dad's
your parents are
personality
wealthy,
and I don't know about wealthy,
you're
but
high class, you're upper,
because of my dad.
Nigeria is upper class, middle class.
Sadly,
yeah. So so we're able to.
So I bypassed this daily oral, but what it then meant was I did go there every month, and every month it stopped being a thing that Fela Kuti had or this random musician sang about, and it really became something I saw. And there was something about that experience also where I feel like I could really relate to the stigma that, at least the perceived stigma that I could see in these people, because with tuberculosis, that's also a highly stigmatized infection.
Yeah, because it comes with territory, doesn't it?
It's sort of the infection you catch when you're in jail or you're a drug user or you have all these other issues or maybe your family is cursed or it has all this baggage with it. And so even it took me a long time to actually tell people I had tuberculosis. A lot of my closest
Nigeria is
friends,
not the best place to reveal things like that.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
And so I could relate to that stigma that I was seeing in people living with HIV. And so this is where it really becomes salient for me that people are living with HIV. It's a lot of people, old, young, children, all sorts of types of shapes and sizes, and a lot in Nigeria. At least that's where I'm thinking initially. And so when I got here as a student, I wanted to donate. So I engineered this show with what I could do. I could paint, I could sew, I could So this is what we do. We put this silly show together and we make some money and we send it back to African countries. But then I started to learn about here too. So over time I learned that even here, we're disproportionately affected. We being African, Caribbean Black people.
Is it a big problem in Edmonton or Alberta, do you think?
I wouldn't say a big problem if you're looking at absolute numbers. I wish there was more current data that shows absolute numbers. Absence of data is part of the problem, but what I would say is it's disproportional. So 6 times more likely that a new infection will happen in African, Caribbean or Black people than others. So it's the difference. It's the difference in health outcomes.
Why?
Here lies the question of the River Foundation. So it's a thing where...
So do you do research also at River Rouge or just the one event a year where you...
It started as that. It started as this one event a year, and then we just kept learning more and more and more. And now River Rouge is so much more than that event. It's now community development and health-based research we still use the arts. We use the arts in our research. We use the arts to bring people together. We use the arts to disseminate the research. We even use the art to understand.
So what has
the
made
research.
Ribbon Rouge possible for you in Canada? Did you get funding for that? Are you able to spearhead that?
So we are now getting better at actually fundraising. Those events we used to have, I now make jokes that I call them friend raisers. They raised a lot of friends.
All right.
But we're getting better at that. I think, your initial question, what has made it possible? I think it's the arts.
Okay.
Because you look in Alberta, and the last tally we had, it's something like 152 associations that are African or Caribbean or Black related associations.
Yeah.
And none of them are talking about HIV.
Actually, yeah. And then just recently, HIV Edmonton. Yeah, it's just the two of you in the city.
So HIV Edmonton, HIV Community Link, they do employ Black people, and there are outreach for Black people. But I'm talking an entire organization
Dedicated, I see.
where you are mainly Black and you are talking about HIV.
All right. I mean, you hit on a nerve there, really, because Black folk don't even talk about their sex lives. We don't talk about transgender issues. We don't talk about being gay. We don't talk about how you even can contract it.
And here you
know.
just hit the nail on the head, because if you're an Alberta-based organization and you're mainly Black and you don't want to talk about something that affects you disproportionately, where do you even begin to try to solve? And I think the thing that has let Ribbon Rouge be able to talk about it is the art, because we say, oh, come for a fashion show, come for an art exhibition, oh, come talk about poetry. Like, we don't say, come talk about HIV. We just sneak it in there.
Because people will gravitate towards it.
People come to that, and then you leave with a message, hopefully. We're getting more and more in the dialogue space now, in the facilitative arts and in the use of arts in dialogue. So we're getting more and more in that, I suppose, more academic and serious space. But it's still the art that I think, to your question, has made it possible
to start that
to
conversation.
actually start the conversation.
So when you talk about your vision for 5 years for Morenike Olaushibikon, what would that be?
You know what would be really cool? It would be really cool. Ironically, given how we started this conversation, what would be really cool would be if I'm in a place where I can, for a period of time, make myself focus on one thing.
Right.
That would be really cool for me for a period of time. I know that I will get bored and I will move on to something else, but what would be really cool would be to develop the skill set where I could put all my energy into one thing. I feel like my dream would be to study and to travel and to build things. I think that that's what I should be doing. Like, I enjoy learning tremendously. I study copiously. So if I was in a situation where that's all I had to do, study and then travel and then just build something great for the world because of that, that would be amazing.
So there are women, young girls listening to you right now and tapping into your energy, like your first class brain, pharmacist, you're a business owner, you're an activist, you're into the arts. I think you have a well-rounded, they call it a resume, and you're also a well-rounded individual.
Thank you.
And I like your hair as well, it's all African. So you're also in touch. What would you say to that young girl? My daughter is also listening. And what would you say to the generation coming up?
And this is just any girl now, or specifically Nigerian or African?
Any girl. Ladies Corner talks to girls, talks to women, I'm a big girl as well. So talk to us. Pass some of your energy through this channel to bring us out of ourselves.
Okay. This is gonna sound super cliche because I've only had like 2 seconds to think about it, but I think to a younger version of myself, what I think I would have said anyways is to actually believe in myself more and to continue to embrace the things that just don't make sense to anybody else around you about yourself. Because for sure in pharmacy school, starting a fashion show was very weird. It was weird for everyone around me.
When you started, just saying, were you the first to start the fashion show thing in Edmonton?
In Edmonton, I don't know that. I don't actually know. I haven't looked, or I don't know. But for sure on campus, something that was an art event trying to support a specific cause in the health sciences. Yeah, that would be really nice. But I don't know if the whole of Edmonton or Alberta.
Alright. So your message to your younger self, to young girls coming up, will be believe in yourself and go for it.
Yeah, go for it more. Actually, just not be so worried what everyone else is doing or what everyone else thinks about the strangeness about what you're doing.
Right.
If that's where your heart is calling you, then just dig into it more and go with that flow more. Yeah.
Veronica Olau Shibikon, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.